Claire Holland had always followed a strict routine. Her co-workers at Ridgeview Hospital in Oregon described her as responsible, quiet, and kind. On the night of October 22, 2016, she finished her shift at exactly 10 p.m. It was raining lightly as she exited through the staff door, walking across the nearly empty parking lot with her umbrella shielding her from the drizzle. She was seen on a grainy security camera heading in the direction of her car, a silver Toyota Corolla. What happened next has remained a mystery. The car was found the next morning by hospital security, parked exactly where Claire had left it. The doors were locked. The keys were still in the ignition, and her purse sat undisturbed on the passenger seat. There were no signs of a struggle, no forced entry, no broken glass, and no indication that anything had gone wrong. Her phone was missing, and calls to her number went straight to voicemail. A week into the investigation, a fisherman discovered Claire's hospital ID badge downstream in a river 15 miles away. Search teams combed the area for days, but found nothing else. Investigators tried to trace her phone but only received one last signal. It pinged briefly from a remote cell tower deep inside wild pine forest, an isolated stretch of woodland that Claire had no known connection to. Her family insisted she had no enemies, no ongoing disputes, and no reason to disappear. Yet, as days turned into weeks, the trail went cold. Over the years, there have been sporadic tips and reported sightings, none confirmed. Claire Holland simply vanished in the middle of her daily routine, leaving behind a locked car, a forgotten umbrella, and a growing list of unanswered questions that continue to baffle both police and her loved ones. In the summer of 1998, James and Ellen Whitaker purchased an old Victorian house in a quiet neighborhood of Asheville, North Carolina. The property had been vacant for several years, and while they expected some wear and tear, they didn't anticipate uncovering something truly disturbing. During a routine attic inspection, James noticed a section of wooden paneling that didn't match the rest. Curious, he pried it open and found a dusty, unlabeled VHS tape inside a small box, wrapped in faded newspaper. Assuming it was a forgotten home movie, they popped it into an old VCR that came with the house. What played on the screen was far from ordinary. The footage opened to a dimly lit room with a single chair in the center. A person sat in the chair, blindfolded and motionless, as a figure wearing a white, expressionless mask walked slowly around them. The masked figure never spoke. The tape had no sound at all, just the unsettling visuals. After several minutes, the screen suddenly cut to static. There was no indication of who the people were, where the footage was taken, or what happened afterward. Shaken, the couple handed the tape over to local authorities. Police opened an investigation but struggled to make progress. The room shown in the video couldn't be matched to any known location, and no missing persons report seemed to line up. Eventually, the case was passed to the FBI. After taking the tape, they informed the Whitakers that the footage would be analyzed. Months passed, then years, and the couple never heard anything again. In 2007, a nearly identical video surfaced online but disappeared within hours. It left viewers questioning whether the tapes were part of something far bigger, perhaps a serial predator operating in the shadows, leaving behind chilling fragments no one could piece together. Sycamore Drive had always been a peaceful, tight-knit suburban street in Illinois where families felt safe leaving their doors unlocked. But in early September 2011, that sense of safety shattered. Over a span of 3 weeks, strange incidents began to unfold across the neighborhood. It started with minor disturbances, mailboxes left open, porch lights unscrewed, and trash bins mysteriously overturned. Residents dismissed it as teenage pranks. Then things escalated. Pets began to vanish. A cat disappeared from a locked sunroom. A dog vanished from a fenced yard with no signs of escape. Security cameras installed by one homeowner recorded hours of footage, and what they captured was chilling, a tall shadowy figure standing completely still near the back door for nearly 6 hours. It never moved, never entered, just stood silently and vanished without a trace when the recording skipped frames. The real horror began when people started to go missing. Over the course of those weeks, 7 residents from 5 different homes disappeared without explanation. In each case, there was no forced entry, no struggle, and no items stolen. They were simply gone, One house had dinner plates still on the table. Another had a television still playing when neighbors noticed no one had come outside in days. Police and forensic teams scoured every home and surrounding area. Nothing was found. No footprints, no fingerprints, no DNA. Authorities eventually labeled the incidents as isolated and coincidental, but the families of the missing never believed that. Rumors began to spread of a presence that watched, waited, and took people when no one was looking. The remaining residents slowly moved away. By 2015, only 2 houses were still occupied. To this day, Sycamore Drive remains largely empty, and the disappearances are listed in separate case files, none of them officially connected, yet eerily alike. Ryan Torres was a 21-year-old criminology student at Millbrook University, known for his obsession with cold cases. Friends described him as intelligent, introverted, and deeply curious about unsolved crimes. In his final semester, Ryan took on an independent research project focused on a local murder from the 1980s, a brutal, unsolved stabbing of a high school teacher named Marion Blake. The case had long been forgotten, but Ryan believed he had found overlooked details that pointed toward a possible cover-up. He began requesting archived police reports, interviewing retired officers, and posting his findings on anonymous forums. In the weeks leading up to his death, Ryan told a few close classmates that he believed someone was following him. He mentioned seeing the same black sedan outside his apartment multiple nights in a row. Most brushed it off as paranoia brought on by overwork. Then, on March 14, 2015, Ryan posted a chilling message to his private social media account, *, if anything happens to me, it wasn't an accident. *. 2 days later, Ryan was found dead in his dorm room. The scene looked like suicide, but several details stood out. His laptop, where he stored all his research, was missing. His notebook, usually filled with meticulous notes, had torn pages. The autopsy listed the cause of death as inconclusive, and no toxicology report was ever made public. University officials discouraged further questions, citing student privacy. Ryan's parents pushed for a deeper investigation, but their efforts were quietly dismissed. The cold case he had been researching remained unsolved. Many believe Ryan uncovered something he wasn't supposed to, something that cost him his life. His warning message, once ignored, is now the only clue left behind. And the questions he asked continue to echo with no one willing to answer them. In the fall of 2003, the Bennett family vanished without a trace from their remote farmhouse near Flathead Lake, Montana. Neighbors hadn't seen them for days and assumed they were away visiting relatives. But when a mail carrier noticed several days' worth of letters piling up, the sheriff's office was called for a welfare check. What deputies found inside the home was deeply unsettling. Dinner was still set on the table. Plates of uneaten food had grown cold, as if the family had been interrupted in the middle of their meal. The lights were on, the fireplace burning low, and the TV played softly in the background. There were no signs of a break-in, no evidence of violence or struggle. The family's truck was still in the driveway. Clothes remained in drawers. Even the family dog, normally protective, was gone. For weeks, search teams combed through the surrounding forest and nearby lake but found no trace. Then, nearly a month later, a group of hunters discovered something strange deep in the woods, an underground shelter covered in moss and leaves. Inside were personal belongings from the Bennett family, toys, clothing, photographs, and cans of food stocked neatly on shelves. But again, no people. No fingerprints other than the Bennetts. The place had electricity powered by a small generator, but it had run out of fuel. Investigators were baffled. Years later, the farmhouse was sold to a new family. During a renovation of the basement, workers discovered a section of concrete that had been patched unevenly. When it was removed, they found something chilling, names etched into the original foundation. Not just the Bennetts, but at least 6 other family names, each associated with missing persons cases from different states, spanning back decades. No explanation was ever found. The Bennetts remain missing,